5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Well, let's dig into Tom Fishburne before getting any farther. I'm pretty excited. This is a really interesting topic for me. The rise of customer service bots. This is from today. Your call is very important, which is why you're talking to a bot. There was an article a couple of months ago that I covered, and it said, in order to give better customer service, we need to hire more bots. The article was so funny, I could hardly stand it. Anyway, which is why your call is so important, you're talking to a bot. How can I help? I have a technical problem. You have a ticklish bottom? No, this is a waste of time. You'd like to pay your bill online? No, your service doesn't work. You'd like to twerk? Operator, you'd like to call back later? Okay, goodbye. And, that's not too far from the truth. This cartoon, I always like Tom's comments. That's the part that I like the best. It says, this cartoon is dedicated to Comcast, the most recent company, to show me how far we have to go before we reach conversational AI that can come close to the human voice. Okay, and I've had similar talks, and my wife, I can hear her in the background, not today, but oftentimes. I want to talk to a person. I want to talk to an operator. I want to talk to a person. And that's basically how it goes. Okay. So the only thing worse than Comcast customer service bot that greeted me when I was trying to resolve a technical issue was having identical conversations with the same bot each time I had to call back. You wonder why they don't like put in at least what you said, at least record it, so then when a bot comes to see you, or when a person comes to see you, they know what you're calling about. At least that. And but I've often, I don't. Mine's more like with my my internet provider, because I have voice over IP mostly. But it says, it struck me that the lip service around customer experience often overlooks the human factor. Customer service is every bit a part of marketing as any other tactic. Scott Adams this morning mentioned that a customer who has a problem and it gets resolved is probably more loyal than a customer that had no problem whatsoever. In fact, it's well documented. He said it was well documented, and yeah, I've heard of it too. 95% by 2025, 95% of all customer interaction, including live telephone and online conversations, will leave the customer unable to spot the bot. In other words, the bots will get so good we won't know that they're bots, which may mean that customer service gets so bad we won't know that they're bots. You can play that game both directions. A company named Servion said, which is typical of lots of industry predictions. McKinsey found that 57% of customer care execs consider call reduction their number one priority in the next 5 years. Okay, we got a long article about that we're going to touch on. The human factor in the call, the human factor in the call center remained vital, underscoring the importance of choosing the right balance of human interaction and automation. Zappos, valuing human conversation as the most important marketing tactic at their disposal, see their call center as a major point of differentiation from Amazon, which owns Zappos. Zappos famously has an award for someone who can stay on the phone the longest with a customer. The long-standing winner is 10 hours, 43 minutes, eventually bested in 2017 by 10 hours and 51 minutes. These awards symbolically show the rest of the organization just how much Zappos values the human conversation. And I'm not sure what could be valuable, but I know that at our call center, we used to have people that would call in pretty much just to talk to somebody. They didn't have anybody calling them and they wanted to talk. The telephone is one of the best branding services out there if you get the interaction right. We're actively experimenting with ways to get more people to call because it's valuable marketing brand builder for us. Yeah, and I called Zappos one time because I bought some shoes, Skechers, that had some really weird design features that fell apart not very long. The whole shoe was leather and there was just a little bit of vinyl trim. And they said, well, have you worn them outside? And I said, yes. And they said, well, tough. United, this is from January 2019, actually has pretty good customer service. I have the Explorer card, and so when I call in from my cell phone, they say, John, what can we do for you? And they're actually, I think it's a robot, but it might be a person. I don't remember, but whatever it was, it did answer my question pretty fast. And the last time I called was when my conference got canceled, that I had already booked a flight, and they said you got a year to rebook it or something, and they gave me a full credit for another ticket. So, they've made some strides. There are some people that do it better and some people that do it worse. So moving on. And that's what this show is about. It's like a sort of a live news show. And I'm excited about LinkedIn because about 90% of my views come from LinkedIn. So if you're on here, and if you don't see too many people on here, most of the views come later. And that's just the way it is. But say hello. I'd like to know if anybody can hear or see, right? And let me move this up a little so I was told I got a call on Friday that I needed to look at the camera more. The camera's there, and then my picture is just a little below it, so I'm a little off. If you look really close, when I look, well, sometimes I am reading, and I can't help that because I'm reading over here. Okay, so Amazon just pulled some PR jujitsu, and they're supporting a bill that would make them liable for third-party sellers on its platform. Now, what the article doesn't cover is that they're already being found liable, okay? Because 2 weeks ago, California courts sided with a customer who had a battery, I'm assuming a cell phone battery, blew up in her face, literally. And Amazon was in court in Pennsylvania a few years ago for a doggy collar that the dog pulled hard on the collar, and the collar broke, and the leash was somehow elastic or something and snapped back and put the dog owner's eye out. And Amazon argued that they had no liability because they couldn't keep track of all their sellers, and they were just a vehicle for sellers to sell counterfeit or junk products, counterfeit or fraudulent products, but also bad products like this battery blowing up. So it actually isn't that hard to understand Amazon's motivation, since they are already being found liable. And when I talk to my kids who use Amazon a lot, they don't, I say, do you ever think of that you're buying from a vendor? No, we're buying from Amazon. Okay, see, so they already think that way. Now, when I buy from eBay, which I buy from a lot, I think I'm buying from a merchant. And I had an event in July where the merchant disappeared. And it was about a $70 item. And so I called up Amazon, and they were very helpful, no bots. And they said that and Amazon, the way they work is you give them your number, and then they call you back. And it works really well. And they said, oops, you're past 30 days, and we sent you a notice that it got delivered. I said, it never did. They said, okay, we take your word for it. Go to PayPal and you get your money back. So I did, and it all worked out. And with 2 calls. I don't think I even had to call PayPal. You just fill in a form and no questions asked. So, hey, Keith, how are you doing? I'm glad you found me over here, because usually you find me on Periscope. Now, you can't give me those fancy hearts, but that's okay. They never got me a penny for that. So they should have, I guess. Okay, so you'd say that this is going to make it much more expensive than Amazon doing nothing to vet their vendors. But the truth is that they can afford it, and they can figure it out. And, they can figure out a way maybe to get some of the vendors to make sure their products are decent. Following on with Tom Fishburne, you're on both, okay. You can give me hearts over there, but let's go. Okay, I'll go over and look for you there. Yeah, I see you over there. Okay, we got some people on each. If you're on Periscope, I'm watching the comments on LinkedIn. Today's my first live session on LinkedIn, and it removes the 10-minute limit. So you're probably going to hate this because I'll go on a little longer. But I'm gonna try and interact a little more on LinkedIn, and I had a lot more viewers there over the years. So, here's a from my Australian source, which is which-50.com. It's saying that contact centers are now at least being able to take connections from all different sources. The bots pull it all together, and hopefully they can sort out what is needed and what is simple. So if you want to just pay your bill, then they can do that. And so they moved from the interactive touch centers. The digital phone did that, and I did a whole session on. There was an interesting article on my Get Pocket about the way that Bell Labs changed the phone, and one of them was the touchpad. The digital touchpad saved an enormous amount of time for all of us, but it also enabled interactive voice response, which was menu options where you hit a button, and then you got to say the number, and then you got, in a few words, tell us the reason why, which focused on keywords, which often got the opposite of what you're looking at. But now we're at the point of natural language understanding. Now, if you think that's perfect, just try using Google Assistant or Siri or something else, which is supposed to understand the customer's intent. If they would just focus on, I need an operator, I really, really need an operator, that would be really good. Thanks. Thanks, Keith. We can see who you are on this one, whereas in Periscope, your name is hidden. So hopefully this will get us fewer of those hate bots that come on my Periscope show. No, I've never had one of those ever in the 2 years I've been doing it on Periscope. To truly understand your customer, you need to not only understand what they're trying to achieve, but also the context. And that's the tricky part, because, if this is the fourth or fifth time I've called, I'd really like you to not put me through the same ringer. Now, I should say, and they keep changing the name and merging with my internet provider, so I don't know what the name of it is anymore. But with the people, I still have to put it in 1, 2, 3, 4 times. I have to tell them, this is my problem. I have a work and a home, and the IP is fixed, and it's blocked in Europe for 5 years, and, la, 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 la. I have complex problems. If they were easy, I would be online on your website. Okay, but the right technology means resolving more customer calls with automation and freeing up human agents for the more complex calls, which are from me. If you get a call from me, just send me right to an operator or a tech support. Let the humans enjoy their unique skills of empathy, creativity, and thinking outside the box to help each other. In other words, technology, and here comes the key phrase that's almost humorous, technology is the key to enabling more meaningful, satisfying, and challenging work which humans love. Yeah, okay, maybe. Could be true. Now this was a great article, and now they changed. The authors change in Customer Think when I summarize and get rid of the scores, so I can't attribute this properly because Customer Think always changes it on me, and usually I catch it and post the real author in there, but I didn't today. Okay, so I recently fielded a question from someone regarding moving net promoter score ratings from 8 to 9, and the question was asked in a digital way, in a numerical score way, rather than moving from passives to promoters. So I was curious. Digging a little further, it turned out that their bonuses were based on NPS ratings. So net promoter score is like, they ask, it's really based on just a few questions, 3 questions, and they ask, was your question resolved? Were you satisfied with the resolution? Was the person helpful? Something like that. And I've had car dealers, or I call the car dealer, for what reason I rarely do that, but I've had them say, if you weren't happy with the call, don't answer the questions. I've actually had that happen, because they're I can tell you, their bonuses were based on their NPS rating. Okay, now these CX, customer experience metrics, you know, gets subsumed under Goodhart's law. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. You know, we back in the old days, we used to have the call center. I managed a call center of 60 people for a while. That's what drove me to be a marketing consultant rather than a manager. Because we, after a while, we'd find out people were making up orders and putting them in to get a bonus or something to move from probation to full-time, or they were on work release from the prison and accosting people in the hallways or doing drugs in the restroom or something. It was always 90 days was a great window to find out what people were really like. And every day it was something crazy. So, but one of the things we did was we incentivized them to get the customer tracking code on the back of the catalog. So on a lot of catalogs, it'll have a number on there, which is a customer ID or more likely an offer ID for the particular catalog and the particular, maybe there's a split test going on or something like that, so we could track it down. And we were getting about 40%, which wasn't too bad for business to business, because sometimes, the president would just photocopy one page and say, go buy this, and the code wouldn't even be there. So, it gets passed around, or a page ripped out or something. Go buy this stuff. And so we decided to incentivize the telecenter to get more codes. And what happened was that the number of code recovery went from 40% to about 70%. It almost doubled. But it turned out that they were putting in codes that they would write them down on a post-it note over on the side, and if they didn't get a code before they hung up, or before they entered the order all complete, or whatever it was, the issue, they would put in that code. And so we were seeing, and I would look at the list reports, and all of a sudden one list that might have been dead for 8 months or something, mailed long ago, all of a sudden to get a big boost in the orders, and it was because of that. So I know the principle there. And you should also not assume that it's malice, because it might be stupidity. That's a good rule today in government. But one of the author's experiences was they wanted to shorten the call times, okay, because then you can handle more calls. And people would basically hang up, and they would have an incentive. They would post each teleprofessionals score like daily, and if they were on the phone too long, if they really had to help somebody, they would, it would pull the average down for the whole place. And so they were abruptly and prematurely ending calls before resolution. Same thing here. Same thing. Another example was that they wanted to drive up, the whole organization was getting rewarded by the Net Promoter Score, and it became part of the incentive structure. So they would tell customers, just give it a 10 on every answer. But, ever been to a car dealership? Right, exactly. And but some of the sales reps, if it didn't go well, they would change the flags in the CRM program that meant that the customers wouldn't be surveyed at all. And so what actually happened was the number of surveys went way down, but the percentage, or the NPS score, stayed the same. So the moral of these stories, make sure you folks understand why you're using quantitative measures, because they will have unforeseen consequences. And that is the truth. And that's it for today. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for the comments on LinkedIn Live. Hopefully we'll get more views out there as the day goes on, and people will realize it's going on. So have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart. Bye-bye.